Hi, this is Stephen Barrett from Mountain Valley Community College. This is for CSIT 256, Computer Architecture and Assembly Language. And this is meant to be the chapter overview for Irvine Chapter 3. The idea behind these overviews, I'm just going to go over a couple of the topics, and there'll be other videos that will go in a little more detail. In the case of the assembly, there may be more than one demo depending on the number of topics that the chapter has, or how much I can squeeze into a demo. But in this chapter 3, we're going to get into the basics of the language. And so we'll see things like, and I'm not going to go in order, but for when we are putting in commands, the basic format that those commands will be. And I didn't realize just right now that that comment is actually supposed to be over here. Oops. But the mnemonic, that would be the English-like command that will be translated into ones and zeros when we do the assemble. So statements like MOV, add, sub, those are the mnemonics that tell the processor what to do. And when we compile our program, those mnemonics are translated into the ones and zeros that the computer carries out. Something we have in assembly that we did not have in Java, or we did not use in Java, are code labels. And with code labels, you actually can jump to specific places in the code. One of the demos from Irvine Chapter 2 showed the top of a loop and a loop statement, and that L1, that was a label that gave us a place that we can loop to. The square brackets here are meant to mean optional, so there may not be a label. Actually, in most cases, there isn't a label, and operands depending on what the command is. So we'll see there are some commands that have no operands, some commands that have one operand. Most of the commands we're going to be using have two operands. So like for add, there would be destination, comma, source. So add would be the mnemonic. One operand, the first one would be the destination, comma, the second one would be the source of where of the data is coming from. For when we're declaring variables, well, let me just sort of jump ahead. We'll also see a general format in which how variables are declared. So it's the exact opposite of Java. So if and sometimes that would throw me off. If I was lecturing, I would go into class. If I was working in Java before I went into class, I would get this reversed, because Java is data type variable name for declaring a variable, and assembly is variable name data type. And so it's easy to switch the two. You know, especially if you've been using Java for a long time, it's hard to now change that. But variable name and then data type. Now, the data types we're going to focus on are these that are listed here. These are 8-bit variables, the byte and the S byte. And what the S means is signed. So there's unsigned byte, there's signed byte. There's unsigned word, which is 16 bits. There's signed word, which is 16-bit. The unsigned D word, which is 32-bit. And the signed D word, that's 32-bit. Remember doing an INT in Java? That's an SD word. So remember the range of values was -2 billion to +2 billion? That's because when you have a signed, we have a signed 32-bit number, that first bit is reserved for being the sign, so only have 31 bits left to work with. So the range of values that we had in Java for the int was because the underlying SD word, being assigned 32-bit, had those restrictions. I just want to jump back here. So some other things we're going to go through, coding standards, and we'll talk about the template. So one of the things that was shown previously, so in our Irvine folder, we do have this project folder, and the idea is that project folder will copy from the make projects. So there's my lab 1 hello. There was my demo for chapter 2. demo for Chapter 3, demo for Chapter 4. And so every time I'm creating a new program, I'll create a folder and I'll copy the contents in here. Well, one of the things that is in here, this main ASM, let me just open this with Notepad++. This template is something that I took what the author had and I just tweaked it a little bit, but it'll help us in terms of fill in the blank. Now remember, semicolon means comment, and so these first part here are comments, but what's the description of the program, who wrote it, when was it created? For symbol definitions, we'll talk about later, those go there. For variables, which we'll see in this chapter, insert variables here. For the instructions that we're going to be looking at, they get inserted here. And later when we get to Chapter 5, we'll write additional procedures, kind of like writing methods, they'll go here. So the template put these placeholders, so you just kind of know where to put things in. For those that use NetBeans, when you create a class in NetBeans, you get that main method that's kind of like empty. Just think of this as being kind of like our main method. Okay, as an overview, I think this is enough. Actually, as an overview, I think this is too much, but there will be multiple videos going through the rest of Irvine Chapter 3.